Welcome to Combs Teeny Tiny Town Model Trains. Today I'm excited because we're going to be unboxing and reviewing my brand new Atlas Masterline HO scale 60-foot Gunderson 7538 single door boxcar. And it's in that beautiful brown BNSF color and road name. So let's get right to it and see what we got. Okay, so we're going to take these out of their boxes. So as I said, I got two of them. Was able to find two online, and these were the last two at Paris Junction Hobbies. So I'm going to take a look inside, see what we've got. Okay. All right, so we'll just put this guy aside here. So one of the things some people had been complaining that these things were kind of loose fitting in their packaging, and it is true. There's a little bit of play and a little bit of movement inside the clamshell here, but for the most part it seems pretty securely packed. So I'm just gonna separate these two halves here. They're very tightly there we go, very tightly bound together here. There we go. Okay, so there's a plastic, bit of plastic covering the model. Now, I'm just going to take this down to give you just a quick look. As you can see, it has some nice detailed parts, some separately applied stirrup steps. And one of the things that is apparently unique about this particular car is that, as you can see there is a separately applied stirrup step just below the side of the door there. So that's kind of a unique feature for this particular model and this particular type of boxcar. Okay, and as you can see, fairly crisp detail on the paint job here, conspicuity marks, and yeah, you know, that sort of classic mineral brown type color. So far looks pretty good. I haven't taken it quite out of the clamshell just yet, but I'll do that in just a second. All right, so let's put this back in the cradle here. All right, so just being very careful to pop this out here. So again, nice looking model, very crisp paint job. Yeah, some nice underbody detail here. I can see some of the brake plumbing here, and the other kinds of underbody details that you would expect. One of the things when you're dealing with a model like a larger, modern 60-foot plus car is often these can be a little bit tricky to navigate. You know, your standard 18-inch radius tracks, which is what I have in my particular layout. So what I've noticed is that the trucks here seem to actually have lots of room to maneuver. Some of the models there's pieces that kind of limit the ability of those trucks to pivot, and therefore they can't really make it around those curves without modification, which is what I've ended up doing on some of my other models. Okay, but it looks pretty good here. I don't see any sign of anything being broken in transit. It looks like this part may have, it's partly, yeah, there's a slight bit of damage to this separately applied detail here. It looks like it has become partly detached. So we'll probably have to do a slight repair to that just to glue it back into place. So, you know, not too bad. Likewise, the detailed parts on the end look to be largely in good shape. All right, so we'll take that and we will get it out on the track. Have a look. Okay, so here we are looking at the boxcar on the track. Now, from what I understand, there is a distinct feature to this particular boxcar, and that is this step here, this stirrup step below the single door of the boxcar. That's a bit of a unique feature. The other boxcars in this general type, don't have that same kind of feature. So obviously the model has everything you would expect, I think, looking at it from the front here. You've got a nice looking Some detailed parts here on the ladder, the steps separately applied, the stirrup step. You have nice, clear, sharp lettering. Okay, this car, excess height, lift and jack here. All of the various things that you would expect. You've got the plate F marking here. On the door, of course, you've got a good amount of detail here. Open, close, etc. Security device only. These parts here, some of them have sustained a bit of damage in transit. I'm not sure if this particular car had any damage, but some of those parts do tend to break, so you do have to be careful there. But yes, a nice looking car. Now, just by way of comparison, I was able to get a picture online of the very same car. And of course, this one has been tagged by graffiti artists. But you can see, again, the same kind of detailed parts here. Detail on the ladder, on the door. Okay, so again, got similar details here. Of course, with much more wear and tear. So a little bit difficult from this particular image. So if we look at another image, now this here shows us a little bit of detail on the end. Okay, you can see you've got the platform, you've got the ladder detail here, brake wheel, chain. So all of these kinds of details, I think, are looking pretty similar here. Coupler lift bar. So again, not a bad representation. That seems quite close to the original. So again, it's a little bit hard to do, and it's particularly when these cars are out in service. And let's look at one more example here. This is actually not the same car. It's very close in terms of number. 76152 instead of 76156. This is a much cleaner example. But again, you can see very similar kinds of detail. I won't go and point out every single one of them, but I think if we look at the model, the lettering, the details, unique step, it's very, very similar. Okay, so I'd say, hats off to the folks at Atlas. I think they've done a nice job. Now, it's always difficult to compare color on screen versus reality, but I do wonder if the folks at Atlas might be a little off in the color. I do think the Atlas version is a little bit more red. But nonetheless, a really nice looking model with some really nice detailed parts, which we'll look at a little bit more closely. Okay, so here is one of the ends, and as you can see, it's got some conspicuity marks here. It's got some sharp lettering here up in the oversized portion of the car here, and I can't really get the camera in much closer, but the lettering looks to be sharp, clear. We have some detail here on these ladders, separately applied. The metal, etched metal walkway, crossover platform type deal. You have the coupler lift bar here. But yeah, what is missing, some have sort of said, hey, what the heck? They bothered to do all the detail pieces here, but there's no hose. So I don't know. I guess that for some is a real issue. Coupler, as you can see, coupler sags just a slight bit, but it doesn't look to be too bad here. This is your Accumate coupler. Looks very close to a KD type coupler. Now this particular car came out of the box a little bit nicer. Some of the other boxed cars were a bit damaged. Some of these pieces had been bent or snapped. I actually had to do some gluing of one of the other cars. So So again, this one looks pretty good. Let's have a look here at the other. I'm just going to shift my camera here if I can. All right, back up. Okay. Okay, and here's the other car. So similarly, the same type of detailing as we looked at on the other car. Lettering, nice, clear, sharp. Coupler lift bar here. This one looks to be maybe just a little bit bent out of shape. Etched pardon me, etched metal walkway here. Detail on the brake wheel, the chain. Again, the coupler here, maybe slight sag to the coupler. Yeah, again, some of these pieces may have suffered a little bit in transit. Like I say, this bar looks a little bit bent. And yeah, and likewise, some pieces over here. So yeah, anyways, I would say all in all, quite a nice bit of detail, lacking just a little bit of detail parts, but otherwise nice sharp looking detail on the ends. Okay, here we are looking down at the top, and as I mentioned, you have some nice details here on the top. It's all molded, but you can see there are some, you can see the rivet detail on the top. And also the kind of the overspray paint effect here is quite nice. A little bit more prototypical looking, I think, maybe. But yeah, as you can see, some good detail on the riveting. And all in all, nice looking model from the top as well as the sides and the front. Okay, so here we have kind of a side-by-side view of two Atlas releases. Both came out at, I think, roughly the same time. So we're, of course, talking about the Gunderson 7538 single-door boxcar. But it came out at roughly the same time as what is pictured here on the left in TTX. The HO Gunderson 7550 double-door boxcar. Okay, both of these were Atlas releases, and both, I think, are nice cars, similar in many ways. And I have seen some reviews of the TTX 7550 boxcar in other places, but I have not seen any reviews as yet of the 7538 single door. So while they're similar, obviously the double door differentiates the one from the single door. Also, as I mentioned, one of the details here is the unique stirrup step, right? Okay, so here we go. So again, at the side of the single door here, you've got that unique single step. But yeah, in terms of other features, some similarities. In terms of the roof line, you've got some similarities there in terms of the detail, although you have, as I said, you have that kind of overspray effect here with the paint, which is kind of a neat detail, and you don't see that same effect here on the TTX. Otherwise, a fine looking model, and of course they work nicely together. So just as a way of kind of further comparison here, I'm going to pull the train forward. There's two, and then right here, this is actually a BNSF model by Walthers Mainline, just as a way of comparison. So obviously the Walthers model, a bit more basic, and you can really see that things like details on the ladders and the steps are really not quite the same. So on the Atlas model on the left, you can see those separately applied stirrup steps and the rungs on the ladder, etc. Whereas yeah, on the Walthers, it's really more of a molded on kind of detail. You can also see the difference between the etched metal walkway on the Atlas model versus the sort of the solid, I think that's actually a molded on and separately painted detail on the platform there. In terms of color, there is a definite difference. There's a more of a reddish undertone on the Atlas model to the left, and definitely more of a brown kind of earthier tone in the Walthers Mainline unit. Okay, so that is definitely a distinction there. Another model popular on the scene too is the Athearn Ready to Roll series, which actually, for my money, has a fair amount of detail. And as you can see, there's a little bit more detail on things like, you know, the separately applied sort of stirrup steps, the ladder detail. Again, you've got kind of see that there, the etched metal walkway versus that kind of molded on painted walkway. In terms of color, very similar in terms of color, maybe a slight variation between the two. Otherwise, you know, a pretty decent looking model. Now, there is kind of an overspray effect on the paint here, which is a similar, not to the Walthers model here, but more so to the Atlas model. So yeah, definitely, you know, you can definitely see some variation between the two. Some nice detail here on the double door mechanism, clear sharp lettering. Yeah, on the whole, you know, I have to say, I'm not super fussy about stuff like this, but for my money, they all look pretty good on a train. Now, the Walthers Mainline, admittedly, is a little bit more basic, also very budget friendly, so you can certainly get in at a lower price point with the Mainline stuff. Okay, well, let's just have a spin around the track here, and we can do a little bit of modern railroading here. So if you're looking for a more modern kind of a setup with your railway, these 60-foot cars are really the way to go. As I said, they look good. They look good together. I mix them and match them up a little bit, and yeah, you're away to the races. So I would recommend the Atlas series. I think they're nice, possibly the nicest of the three different brands that I've been talking about on this review. But you really can't go wrong with any of them. There are a few missing details here and there, and there was some issues with the transport of the Atlas models. Some breakage of some of the delicate applied separately parts, but on the whole, I'm very happy with my purchase. And in fact, I'm looking to maybe buy some more. They seem to be sold out everywhere, but I noticed Otter Valley here in Canada has stocked a few more recently, so I'll be probably looking to buy a few more of these. All right, well, thanks again for watching. If you like this, please click like, and if you want to see more content like this on Combs' teeny tiny town where I explore adventures in model railroading, please subscribe. Love to have you on board. All right, everybody, take care and enjoy model railroading.